Hello everybody, and welcome to another X-Plane tutorial. This is going to be a live stream. It's been a while since I was streaming, and I'm back. So for those of you that liked my tutorials, I hope you're excited to have me back. I plan on making some more tutorials again very soon. So to test out the system, it's been a while, so I have to make sure my configuration with an X-Plane is right. My Open Broadcaster Studio has the right audio settings, the quality is good, and also the video settings. So here we are. We're not going to do a lot today, maybe about an hour. I'm going to go from Tucson to Phoenix, and we're going to use the Zibo mod. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's a free aircraft you can download on the X-Plane forums. Just do a search for Zibo mod, and I plan on creating a very thorough version of this particular live stream and a tutorial very soon right after this. So right now it's going to be essentially just a quick and dirty, make sure all the audio and everything is right. So I got a few chats there. How you doing? Euro, if you can just put something in the chat to let me know that the audio is good, or that my volume on the desktop or the plane aircraft engine's not too loud, then I'll go ahead and get right started. Okay, while we're waiting for the comments to come in, we're sitting inside the Zibo mod 737-800, and we're in Tucson, and we are not at the runway, we're at a gate. So I'm going to walk you through an end-to-end of basically configuring the flight management computer, and everything goes with it. We'll push back and we'll take off and we'll do an auto land, and that'll conclude our tutorial today. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is zoom into the flight management computer here, and we'll select the FMC button, and then we'll go to position init. As I mentioned, we're in Tucson, so that's Kilo, Tango, Uniform, and then Sierra, and we'll select that into the reference airport. We'll go over to route, and we'll do the same thing, and the destination is going to be Phoenix. So Kilo, Papa, go, Hotel, and X-Ray. We're going to be taking off today from runway 29 Romeo, and for those of you that are interested, company route lets you save your particular flight plan. We're not going to bother today. We're not going to bother with the flight number as well, so we'll keep going on to the perf initialization. We're going to be flying today at a flight level of 16,000, so FL 16160. You could type this in by going 16,000, or you can simply go FL 160. So both are the same, and we'll put that over here into our cruising altitude. Glad to hear in the chat that everything's good to go with the sound, so it's rare to get the configuration right the first time, so that's great. The Zibo mod has an awesome feature. It automatically calculates the your ground weight and your zero fuel weight. So instead of having to do a bunch of math, you just simply click the button over here to the left. And then we have to specify reserves and a cost index. So for reserves, we're just going to specify 0. And for cost index, we'll just use a standard one for this size of an aircraft, 35. And for those of you that are wondering, the higher the number, basically the faster your aircraft will go, but at the same time the more fuel that you'll burn. So it's kind of a trade-off that you'll have to get to. We'll execute that, and we'll move on to the N1 limit. This is going to be for takeoff or TOGA. Again, Zibo mod has a great feature here that if I click this button here, it automatically grabs the temperature. If you were wondering where this is coming from, if you kind of go over here, you can see this TAT plus 32. That is the temperature outside right now. But again, rather than me having to type it in manually, just clicking the button, the Zibo mod automatically takes care of it. And we're not going to worry about any of these configurations. This is really only if you have a shorter or longer runway and you want to save some fuel or speed up. We're okay for today. So we're going to go over here to the takeoff section. We'll set our flaps to 5. And then you can see it automatically calculated our V1, VR, and V2 configuration. So we'll go just click that to set them in. So this is important. So this means our VR is 141, so that means we're going to actually start pulling on the yoke to take off once we hit a speed of 141. So what we'll do is we'll go over to our mode control panel, our MCP, and let's go ahead and configure that to the 141. There we go. So we'll go back to our flight management computer. We're going to go over here to the route, depending on which. I've been listening to a lot of Australian videos on cloud related technology, and they say route, so I have route in my head instead of route. We're going to hit next page, and we're going to fly to Hotel Oscar Tango Tango Tango, and we're going to activate that. We'll go back over here to our departure and arrivals. We'll select departure, and we're going to select the SID over here, Whiskey Lima Delta Kilo Tango 3, and we'll execute that. So we're taking off from runway 29 right, or Romeo, with that particular SID. We'll go back to departures and arrivals. We're going to take off from the Ping 1 SID, and we'll execute that. And we're going to fly an ILS approach on runway 08. So let's lock that in. So really that's all we have to do here, but we have to fix a few things quick. We'll go to the leg section here, and you can see that there's a discontinuity here. So to fix that, we'll select the one after, and then we'll select that empty spot and hit execute. We'll go next page, and we'll go next page, and we see a vector. That's also a bad thing there. So vectors and discontinuities, those are bad. So again, we'll select the JAML one, we'll select the vector, and we'll execute. That should fix us all up. So if we look here, everything looks good to me. So we'll clear the scratch pad by clicking clear here. So what I like to do is I like the kind of pilot particular screen to be set at the climb, and I like the first officer screen to be set to legs. So this way I can kind of see both. So I know what's happening for my climb, and on the right hand side I know what's going on with regards to which waypoints we're going to. So let's go back to the mode control panel here. Let's set our altitude to 16,000 feet. There we go. And let's get a pushback, because it's going to take a few seconds to get our pushback. So the Zibo mod has a AV tab plugin built in, and I've installed a plugin called Better Pushback. So we're going to go here to ground services, and we'll say Better Pushback, and we'll say request a pushback.
Hey Captain, let me know where you want this thing.
So let's move our aircraft in the position that we would like it to be in. This is my favorite plugin for pushback. You can really specify exactly where you'd like to be, so I'll say there, and we'll press enter.
Great news, Captain, your tow's coming.
Alright, so our tow is on the way. Let's have a look. We're flying WestJet today, and it looks like the tow is coming in to set us up here in a second. So this is the Better Pushback plugin. It's much better than having to use the default and knowing you have to turn left or right or straight. That's why I like this particular one. So we should get some commands in a second to release the parking brake, so we'll wait for that.
Alright, looks like the doors and hatches are closed and we're ready to connect.
Okay, so he's going to connect in a second. He should authorize me or tell me to change the parking brake here in a second, so we'll just wait for that command. And so you guys, in case you're wondering where the parking brake is, it's near the throttle. Parking brake pull right here. There we go. should be giving us a connect anytime soon. We'll go have a look and see what's going on here.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Toes connected, bypass pins inserted. Go and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go.
Right.
Here comes the pushback.
Here we go. And while we're getting our pushback, we can go ahead and turn on another plugin that I like. It's called Airport Visual Studio, I believe. Airport VS. And what it lets us do is visualize the airport. So if we want to set a taxi, we can go over here, for example, set it to taxiways, indicate that we would like to go there from here, and accept. So now you can choose different modes of operation. So maybe you like it based on your heading, maybe you like it based on being centered. I like the heading approach. Let's just make that a little smaller. There we go. The reason I use this is this helps me know where the heck I'm going. So if you're doing real world flying and you're using something like that sim and you're talking to air traffic control, well, air traffic control will give you very specific instructions of which taxiways to take, which runways to go on, and so on. And it's not always easy to figure this out looking at the X-Plane map. So you can use this Airport VS plugin that's available on the X-Plane store as a tool to help you know where you're going. So it's one I really like a lot. So we're almost pushed back and into position. And then we'll be taking off very soon. And there's still quite a few pieces of configuration left. Our flight management computer is ready to go. Our altitude is configured as well as our N1 speeds, but we still have to set the cabin pressure and a few other things like our flaps, which we'll do a little later. Looks like the tow should be disconnecting very soon.
Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake.
So let's set the parking brakes. There we go.
And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment.
Right, should get the signal in a second here to disconnect. There we go, so let's disconnect and give them the hand signal to say we're good. And we'll just watch to see when he disappears so we don't run him over whenever we go to take off.
And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the left. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
Alright, our tow is leaving us, so let's go ahead and make our way out to runway 29 Romeo. So let's increase the throttle a little bit here. There we go. So again, I am using a plugin called Airport Visual Studio, or Airport VS. I think it's called Airport Visual System. Sorry about that. So as you can see at the bottom left, I just follow the nice magenta line. It's much easier than having to guess where to go. So we're going to taxi. While we're taxiing, we'll lower the flaps down to 5 because that's what we set inside our flight management computer. So I'll just make the turn and then I'll show you. I'm using the Eclipse CH Products yoke. It has a lot of buttons on it, so in theory I could just press the buttons to do that, but it makes it hard to see. So let's just go ahead. 1, 2, 3. So you'll see right over here our flaps start to go. So they'll keep going and we'll make our way out to the runway. Hey Adam, I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to be back. It's been a little while since I've been into X-Plane. I've been playing other games. I My background's in IT, so I tend to switch back and forth between different things. So I'm eager to get back. The Zibo mod aircraft has been making quite a few enhancements, and it's just stellar. So we're going to do a test flight. If that goes well, and no one has any problems with the audio or the video, I'm going to re-record this in the regular tutorial style that I normally do, so that it's very short and concise and people can essentially follow along. I'm also working on a template so that we can do flight plans and such like that, so it's very easy to reproduce the flights that I'm going to do a tutorial for. Hey, Sergeant Thomas, how you doing? So we're just buzzing along here, just under 45 knots, on our way to 29 Romeo. We'll take a short stop at the particular runway, set the cabin altitude and a few other parameters such as our auto throttle and the flight director, and we'll press the toga button and be on our way. Hey Bailuz, I have a my video card is a 980 Ti. I have a solid state hard drive, the Samsung 890 EVO for my operating system, and I have another solid state drive that's a little slower for my data disk, and I have my OS on one disk and I have X-Plane on another disk, and an i7 8600 or something like that. I can't recall. I am planning on buying a brand new video computer in the near future. I'm just waiting a little bit. I've been doing a little bit of research. There's some debate right now over whether the Intel versus AMD. AMD's making some strides there and seems to be doing quite well, but people are saying that they have not seen the performance with those AMD chips compared to Intel in X-Plane. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. So we're on the runway now. We can hide the airport visual system. We don't need that anymore. Let's go have a look at the mode control panel again. We're going to activate the auto throttle, activate the flight director. We'll activate the first officer flight director. Let's go up top and have a look. And over here, this is a crucial mistake a lot of people forget to make. Just because you set the altitude on your mode control panel or MCP to your desired altitude, you also have to set your cabin pressure, otherwise you'll black out and the screen will turn black. So let's set this to 16,000 as well. Let's go ahead and let our flight crew know that we're about to take off, and they can announce to our passengers such.
Flight attendants, please be seated for departure.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
Alright, so for those of you that are interested, I have a joystick button for this, but I want to zoom in so you guys see. That little button right here is called a TOGAF button, or take off, go around button. So essentially, you press that button once your flight management computer has been configured, and basically the aircraft will automatically go to its desired speed to get you to that N1 speed, which in our case is, I think, we'll look again, 141 knots essentially. So what that does for us is take care of some of the hassle that we don't have to worry about. Our runway is 29 Romeo, so we'll set the heading to 290. There we go. We're good to go. So we're going to go and press the TOGAF button once we take off our parking brake. And essentially we'll be on our way. Once we get up to about 400 feet, we'll start to lower the flaps. When we get to 1,000 feet, we'll remove all the flaps and we'll activate the autopilot. So let's get going. So I'm just going to do a little engine test. Everything sounds good. Okay, so I'm disarming the parking brakes, pressing the TOGAF button. There we go. So just give me 1 second. See, okay, what's the TOGAF button? There we go. So you can see over here the N1 button has been pressed. That's the TOGAF button. Take off go around. We're going to hear an audio call at 80 knots. Energy rotation call around 140.
80 knots.
80 knots.
rotate. Positive rate.
Positive rate, so go ahead and retract the landing gear.
400.
400, let's start flaps up. Runway 2.
1,000.
1,000 feet. Go ahead and put all the flaps up. So here's what we're going to do, folks. Zoom in on the control panel, activate the vertical and lateral navigation. And we'll press Command A. So what this does essentially is tell the plane to fly itself. So let's have a look at what's going on now when we're in autopilot mode. So right now we have N1 enabled, which means the throttle and the engines are essentially managed for us to keep us at the desired speeds that are configured in the flight management computer. Vertical navigation basically is your vertical speed, so up and down. So again, the plane knows what altitude I should be at each leg of the flight, and it just takes care of that for us. And the lateral navigation is your left and right, horizontal plane. So again, it's going to automatically move me to the waypoints, so I don't have to worry about that. And then by clicking the Command A button on the autopilot, it's going to make sure all of that is just automated for me. So I just have to watch it. So if we go here and look at our displays, we can see here that we're following the magenta line, and we're 20 nautical miles away from the Hotel Oscar Tango 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 waypoint. See now it's 22 and so on. Our engines are at about 94.3%. The weather went down a degree, so we're at 32 instead of 34, so it actually went down 2 degrees. So if we go and look at our flight management computer, you can see we're in climb mode right now. We're 14 nautical miles away from the top of the climb. So that's pretty cool. Coffee Calla, are you saying that my voice is quite loud compared to the audio? If that's the case, let me know, because I am trying to get my levels to be perfect so that when I create the tutorials in the future, it's better. So I will go here and I will configure that then and see if I can make that a little better. So let me just pause the simulator for a sec here. And let's go in and configure the sound, because my goal today is not necessarily about the live stream so much, but to make sure essentially that everything is set up for future recordings and stuff like that. So let me know if things are a little better now, and I'll adjust again if it's not any good. So let me know if things are better now. So we're now 11 nautical miles to our top of climb, and what that means is we'll be at 16,000 feet when we reach that, and we're about 15 nautical miles to get to that particular waypoint here. So here we go, we're at 10,000 feet. So let's say how about now? So we are on our way to 16,000 feet. And at 16,000 feet, we're going to have a few things to do. So a couple things. We're going to go here and look at our tablet. And we're going to go to AVI tab. And we're going to go to airport. And we're flying to Phoenix. So that's Kilo Papa Hotel X-ray. And you can see here, we're going to be flying in on runway 08. It says that our ILS frequency is 111.75, and our course is 078. So let's go ahead and configure that. So again, let me know if things are still not better, because I'll change the audio a little bit. I can also try increasing. So tell me if the engines and stuff are just simply too loud, or if my voice is not loud enough, and I'll tweak those particular settings. Okay, so let me just hit pause here for 1 second, and I'm going to tweak my Open Broadcaster settings here a little bit. So let me bump down this by, let's say, 10. I just Open Broadcaster was showing me a little bit of red, so I turned down my mic. So let me bump up my mic a little bit here into the yellow. So let's see here. How about now? Okay, so let me know what you think now. I made a few more adjustments. Let me know if my adjustments were too bad. So while our flight crew is making their announcements to our passengers, let's go ahead and set our ILS frequency. So again, it's 111.75. So let's switch it from standby to active. And let's do nav 2. So again, 111.75. Switch that over to active. This little button down here, nav-2, I just activated. What that will let me do is have an audible sound whenever I reach the ILS. I find it rather annoying, and there's a better way, so I'm not going to activate it. So let's do that. Good to hear that my voice is better. Again, let me know if more changes. I'm trying to get it so that the live streams are more fun, a little bit more commentary. The tutorials will be short and sweet like they normally are, so I'm really trying to get that perfect. Okay, so now we're going to be, as per the flight management computer, or sorry, as per our tablet over here, we've just set the ILS frequency to 111.75, but we also need to set the course to 78. So let's go over here and set the course to 78. Or 070. There we go. We also want to do it on the first officer screen because Zibo mod has a feature of auto land, but it requires both to be configured. So where we're at right now is we have everything ready to go for our descent. So let's go back and look at our screen, and you can see we're now in cruise mode. So we were in climb mode. Now we're in cruise mode. And we have 35 nautical miles until we get to the top of descent. And essentially what that means is we have to then basically set the altitude that we want the plane to go down to. In our case, it's going to be 0. But let's say for some reason we needed to stay at a particular flight level. Well, we would be able to do that by changing the mode control panel. So let's look over here. We can see that at this particular waypoint we need to be above just under 17,000 feet or above. Here 13,000 feet, here 12, and so on and so on. You could manage this, but the flight management computer will take care of all that for us. So what we're going to do when we get to the top of the descent is essentially change the 16,000 over here to be 0. So we still got a ways to go, so let's have a look around. I see a lot of desert. And let's look outside the aircraft. Looks good, nice and clear. Weather's good. Again, we're using the Zibo mod aircraft with a WestJet livery. I truly love it. There's so many settings and configurations that you can do with this particular aircraft. It's really nice. For those of you wondering, at the top of the screen there is a little red line. That is a progress bar. So I'm sharing some stats as I fly. Again, I won't include that on my tutorials. That'll get in your way, but for the live stream, it keeps things entertaining. Right where you see the KTUS and KPHX, there's a little red bar there. That is that progress bar. So that's how close we are to our arrival destination. So something nice to watch if you guys are interested. So let's take a walk around. We got a few minutes before we get to our top of descent here. So let's go open the cabin door and check up on our passengers. So the Zibo mod pretty much lets you do everything. You can open and close doors. You can configure stuff. You can change the cabin lighting during takeoff and landing. You can change the sound effects. So it looks like we got some happy people, a few rich folks in first class, and a lot more of the common folk in the economy section. So let's go and close the door, because otherwise what will happen is when we start our descent and landing, the flight crew will make quite a few announcements, and we'll hear them really loud if that's the case. So we have 13, let's just zoom in there so we can see here, 18 nautical miles to go until we are at the top of descent. I don't really want to change too many things until we get to that. I kind of want you guys to see what's going to happen in the process. I can show you a few more things here on the tablet if you're interested. There's also a map. And what we'll go is we'll go to like a level 8 zoom. And there you go. So some people prefer the X-plane map. That's a nice way that if you want to just see a quick map while you're flying, but without actually having to open up the X-plane map, that's another way. This is what the X-plane map looks like, so you can see that on the screen as well. But you know, it does take more real estate on the screen, so each to their own. So we're going 270 knots. We're getting close to our top of descent. It's still not visible on the screen yet, so probably when we get within, I think, if we look here at the mode control panel, and we look over here at these knobs, you can set the distance. So let's just make it a little easier. Here we go. So right now you can see I'm set to 10. So that means I really only see 10 nautical miles ahead. So you could set that to 20, 40. Perhaps you can set the captain's side to be 10, and maybe your first officer side on the other side to maybe 30 or 40, so you can see further away. It's really up to you. Since we're going to be landing soon, I'm going to click on the terrain button so we see if we're going to run into something. And now if you look at the screen, we have this thing where it says top of descent. That is when the aircraft will start descending, but only and only if we go over here quickly and we change this 16,000 down to 0. So let's do that. The other thing we're going to do is quickly go over to the initref page, and we're going to select what our approach is going to be. So we're going to go in at 15 flaps with 157. So if I select that there, you can see how this one became a little bigger. If I select it over here at 30. So what this basically means is when we get to our approach, the aircraft is going to be configured to maintain 157 knots when I change the flaps to be 15 degrees. So let's go back to cruise. We got 4 nautical miles to go. If we look on the screen here, we can see now the terrain detail starting to appear here in green. And we're getting very close to where we see the aircraft. So we can already see the aircraft starting to kind of slow down and speed up a little bit as it judges what it needs to do. And it'll start slowing down even more. You can see right now we have a target speed of 293 knots. But once we get below 10,000 feet, we have to be around 240, 250. So there we go. So we are now in the descent mode. So if we look here at the flight management computer, you can see we're trying to be at 250, and we're in descent mode, and our vertical speed right now is about 1,100 feet per minute. So we can now see over here, we're going down in altitude, we're going down in speed. We're still not quite close to our destination airport yet, but we're getting there. So very soon we'll be able to turn on our ILS approach. But we still probably have another 20 nautical miles away, and we'll check in a minute. So just wanted to show you that we're now going down in altitude, and our speed will adjust, and the speed will keep adjusting automatically because it's all programmed in our flight management computer. Couple other things I'll talk to you about is that if, again, a reminder, if it's not working properly, so in other words, if you're not going down in altitude, chances are you perhaps forgot to change this altitude over here to 0 ahead of your top of descent. So you have top of climb, T/C. That is when you basically reach the top of your altitude. So we set it to 16,000. So our top of climb was 16,000. When we get to our top of descent, we have to then again adjust this down to 0. That's the process for a Boeing. The Airbus is slightly different. There's a button you press essentially to say go ahead and lower the aircraft down, or I'm ready for ascent. Another thing, perhaps maybe I only want to fly to 5,000 feet because there's some air restrictions. So again, I can, instead of change the altitude down to 0 like I did, I could change it down to essentially 5,000, so the aircraft will only go down there. So looking at the ticker tape, we're getting close. We got about 25% to go. So let's have a look at our map. We should start to see Phoenix coming in there soon. Yep, there we go. There's Phoenix. So we're getting there. We still have a little ways to go. We're going to fly in on a star. So SID is a departure, star is an arrival, and essentially all that is a particular way or a set of points that you need to follow in order to fly in and line up with the runway. You don't have to do that, but if your air traffic controller says you do, then you do. So we're going to kind of come around like this and then land in on 080 in a few seconds. So let's have a look at our flight management computer. So we have 2.2 nautical miles to go to Duke. Then it looks like another 7, 6. So yeah, we still have a little bit of a ways to go before. Now see here at the bottom, it says drag required. So what that means is we're still going a little too fast for what we should be. So I'm going to activate essentially what's called speed brakes. So if we look over here and we see that lever, this is a speed brake. So if we activate that speed brake like so, and then look outside the aircraft, we can now see what looks to be a flap, but those are speed brakes. So that is a way to kind of add some drag. So as you can see now, we're now slowing down slightly over here. So let's look here and then kind of come over, and there we go. You can see we're slowly going down in speed a little bit. So that's another trick, that if you need to achieve a little bit of a reduction in speed or add a little drag, you can activate the speed brakes as I'm doing here. You definitely don't want to open your flaps up when you're going this speed, because they'll just rip off. So the Zibo mod and X-Plane's quite real. So what will happen is if you open them above, say 240, they're not going to work the rest of the flight. So it makes for a rough landing. So we'll keep the speed brakes open until we hit to that little magenta line here, which is our desired speed according to the flight management computer, which is 230. And we're still going down. We're at 8,500. We're coming in here to our next waypoint, which is Legacy. And we're getting there. And okay, so now we're kind of at the speed. So I'm going to go ahead and unactivate the speed brakes. So you can kind of, again, I'll show you. Speed brakes are back. When we land, not only are we going to activate these speed brakes here, we're going to activate what's called reverse thruster. So right here, these two big levers, that's our throttle. But this one right here where I'm hovering around with the mouse is what they call reverse thrusters. So the reverse thrusters, when your engine's idle, opens up a flap on your engine, and I'll go outside the aircraft and show you. And it's what makes that very large, loud sound when you're landing. So essentially, this particular piece right here opens up and or pushes back. So when the air is coming through the engine, it kind of blocks and goes back in the reverse direction. So it kind of adds, again, more drag. So it helps you slow down whenever you're going to land. So we're getting very close. We're going to fly over these mountains. And then we're going to come in and around to the right. And we'll be ready to basically start our descent procedure. So to descend, we're going to set our flaps to 15, but gradually. We're not going to just do it out of the gate. We're going to make sure that we confirm our ILS and all those configurations have been set. We'll then check to make sure that we intercept the ILS and localizer properly, and that everything's good there. And sometimes that's a challenge because if your approach to the runway is quite quick, in other words, you'll see here on the screen, it's not very easy, but I'll zoom in here. We're going to kind of go to the left, make a turn, and then boom, we're right on our approach. So in other words, if our aircraft for some reason doesn't turn fast enough, or we're not at the right height, we're going to run into some problems. And that is why I'm practicing with you today versus doing it in a tutorial, so that we can have it all down, packed, and perfect. And then I can create a short and sweet tutorial like I normally do and publish the flight plan so that you can follow through and do the same thing later. So we are going towards that particular waypoint. So let's do a little housekeeping. Let's go to the mode control panel. We know that we're flying in to the runway at a course of 078, so we go and set that to 078. We know we're flying into runway 080, so we can go ahead and set that to 80. Perfect. Earlier, we set our ILS to be 111.75 for nav1, and that's still the case, so that's good. We also set our nav2 to the same, 111.75, and everything's great. Again, if I want to confirm, I can press this audio button over here, like so, and whenever I get closer, I'll hear a bunch of Morse code beeps. I rather find it annoying, so there's a visual way to get the same representation, so we won't go ahead and turn that on. Looks like a beautiful view. We have a few more minutes before we have to start worrying about any landing type procedures, so let's just enjoy the view for a few seconds. So let's just check in with everybody in the chat. You still awake? Everything making sense? The audio good? Anything you like particularly? Anything you don't like? I am going way faster than I normally do on a tutorial video, so don't worry, I haven't changed, and the tutorial video will be the same. But just want a dry run first, so let's get some chats going here. What are people thinking so far? Another question maybe I have for you. Would you prefer Twitch as a platform? So I'm debating perhaps, you know, I'll still create my regular tutorials. I have plans for about 4 or 5 more in the next, we'll say 3 weeks to a month. But I'm debating if I maybe should have like a fly-in Friday or something like that, where on Twitch I would go on and we would fly together, and maybe we'd tie in VATSIM and we have some fun together. Or do you think YouTube is the preferred place to stream? Let me know in the comments below. We're maybe about 30 seconds away from turning. Thanks for the thumbs up, Coffee. So what's going to happen? We start to see a little fog. I'm going to go ahead and let the folks know that we are going to start our descent. We have already started our descent, but we'll say our landing. So let's go over here to the PA system, and let's let everybody know that we're going to prepare for landing here.
Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for landing.
All right, when we start our turn, we're going to lower our gears here, our landing gears. There we go, we're starting our turn.
Ladies and gentlemen, in preparation for landing, we've turned the seatbelt sign on. Flight attendants will be collecting any remaining service items that you would like to discard. As part of our Echo Skies program, we're committed to recycling aluminum, plastic, and paper, and we'll be coming around to collect these items. Please make sure all carry-on items have been securely stowed either under the seat in front of you or in an overhead compartment. As a reminder, please make sure your personal belongings are clear of the aisle. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you get ready for landing. You may continue to use your small, lightweight electronic devices, but they must be unplugged from the outlet, set to airplane mode, and secured. As a reminder, carry-on items should be securely stowed either under the seat in front of you or in an overhead compartment. Please make sure your seatbelts are fastened, seat backs and tray tables are upright, headrests are lowered, and footrests and video monitors are stowed. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival and be seated.
All right, so let's lower our landing gear. And let's put flaps to 5. That's down 3. There we go. Wave to the crew. The captain and the first officer. We got our landing gears down. Good. Let's check in on our flaps. Flaps are down to 5 degrees. We're going to lower them to 15 as we put. Okay, let's zoom in here, folks. I want you to see something. See the magenta diamond here and the magenta diamond there. This one's solid. That's our vertical, so that's basically our glide slope, and we're under it, so that's good. If it's below us, then that's bad, and our ILS landing's not going to work. This is the way to know whether or not intercepted the ILS and glide slope. Basically, I told you can have an audio or you can have this. The one for left and right, so lining up directly with the runway, is not right. You can see we're not quite lined up yet. And if you look at our flight plan here, we're going to kind of go straight and then make a right, so that looks like it's normal. So we got to keep an eye on this. When this diamond gets down to here, we're going to activate some things, but since we're not lined up right now with the runway, I'm not too worried. So we'll activate that soon enough. And what we're going to do is over here, let's just put it on the MCP. We're going to hit Vorlock in a second. And whenever we see both particular diamonds completely filled in, we're going to activate the approach mode over here. So again, we're not there yet, but let's go ahead. We're almost ready to turn to the right. Let's lower the flaps by 2 more so that we're at 15. So we can see here, the flaps are now at 15. And we're now going to be making a turn in a second here towards the runway, which is around here. Alright, we can see now that this particular diamond's now solid, this one's solid. So once we finish our turn, I'm going to activate the approach mode over here. There we go. So I've activated the approach. Now on the Zibo mod, they have a feature called Auto Land. So if you enable the Command A and the Command B at the same time, it will be in Auto Land mode. So that's what I just activated. So let's check out some stuff. So we are at a vertical speed of 1,000, so we're going down 1,000 feet a minute. Everything looks good here. We have 1.8 nautical miles before we reach the runway.
2,500.
The engine's looking good. And we have captured perfectly the center and the center on the localizer and the glide slope. So basically, localizer is your left and right. The glide slope is your up and down. So we are well on our way. Another thing we're going to want to do is adjust our brakes here. So let's go ahead and set this to say 2, so that when we touch down, basically, that the brakes will kind of automatically come on and we won't have to worry about skids. Let's go up and set our landing lights to be on. And we'll turn our logo on. Doesn't really matter, but let's do that. Let's have a look. We see our lights. Landing lights are on. Everything looks good. We soon touching down into Phoenix. This will conclude our live stream once we touch down and make it to the gate. And again, this was just a quick and simple test of my equipment. Formatted my computer since and reinstalled X-Plane. So I just wanted to make sure audio, video, and all the configurations were good. The live streams are something I'll be doing for fun once in a while. I'll let people maybe kind of, call in and say which particular places they would like to see me fly to. I might even set up a Discord channel so we can chat together. But the live streams will be kind of for fun.
1,000.
Again, if you want me to do
feet stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
If you want me to do Twitch, let me know. I can check out that. And I plan to resume the video tutorials in the next week or so to reenact this exact same flight, but through a tutorial with very clear and concise commentary, and just enough to get you on your feet. All right, we're looking like we're getting close. Around 1,000 feet to go. The Cappy lights look like they're good.
500.
500 feet. The autopilot's still good.
400.
So again, when we land, I'm going to be turning on the speed brakes
300.
and the reverse thrust.
200. 100.
100.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
All right, there we have it, folks.
80 knots.
So just for you guys as reference, you can see here the speed brakes are activated, and I have the reverse thrust open. You can see here, this is the reverse thrust, helping the aircraft maintain a quicker stop. So now, just so you can see, let's remove the speed brakes. Let's go over here, and you can see it's actually reversing, see? So let's close the reverse thrust so that we start going forward. There we go. And let's go to our gate. So the Zibo mod auto landing does it again. You know, it's not so easy if you're doing this the manual way, but it's still fun. So again, if you're not sure where you're going, you can turn on the airport visual system. We can say where we are in a second here. Here, I'll just close this for now. I should have done that ahead of time. This airport's not too confusing, so pretty sure it's right straight. There we go. But again, if you don't know where you're going, you can go to Airport Visual Studio. There we go. Let's come in to our gate. Let's not kill the guy that's driving that crazy truck. Let him go by. Well, maybe we won't run him over. Maybe we will. We'll see. We'll just run through him. All right, we're lining up to the gate. Yeah, so by no means am I a pilot. I'm an enthusiast. My background's in IT, but I do enjoy flying and learning how to fly. So let's go ahead and raise our flaps. If you guys have seen something that I've done that's a mistake, I'm more than willing to accept constructive criticism. So Ricky, if you have some suggestions there for something I should have done, let me know. Like I said, no flight training whatsoever. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I kind of have a very good teaching instruction mindset. So what I really want to help is essentially that people that make videos, I find they don't quite do it in a short and concise way. So I'm hoping that I can offer something to get people up and running. So I'm not necessarily going to follow all the right procedures by any way, but hopefully that I can help people see what to do essentially. But anyway, so I'm glad that you guys got to check out the stream. Again, it was more an audio test and a video test. I'm using a 21:9 Acer Predator monitor, so it does 3400 by 1440 resolution, which is not ideal for YouTube. It'll leave black bars. So to me, this looks pixelated a little bit, but hopefully to you guys, everything looked okay. But yeah, look forward to an exact replica of this flight that we just streamed, but hopefully without mistakes, with a little less commentary, in the same style that I normally create the YouTube videos in for tutorials. And then I'm going to create a whole series of different ones for the Zibo mod. Then I'm going to go back to beginner basics, and I'm going to create some series for folks. This is how you install X-Plane. This is how you download and install the Zibo mod. The video that I have right now is a little bit unfortunately dated and the methods changed. I want to talk about how to configure your flight sticks, your settings, your macros, what the particular settings should be to have an ideal video quality. So I'm going to go through all of those over the next several months with creating videos, and then all the while trying to sneak in perhaps just a fun flight through a stream. So again, if you guys feel that I should stick to YouTube for the live streams, I will. If you think that Twitch might be a better avenue, I'll try that too. But the videos for sure will still remain on YouTube. So have a great Sunday. For those of you going back to work on Monday, get a few hours of enjoyment in before you head to work. And thanks everybody again for watching the live stream. Appreciate it.